Hey guys, welcome back. For today's video, going to be touching on 5 early primary and caucus state vote polls that we've gotten out over the past couple of days. 2 of them looking at the state of Iowa, and both of them are telling a little bit of a different story. And then also the other early states of New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina. And if you'd like to look at all of the polling data for yourself from these articles, I'll have links posted down at the bottom of the video description. Now, last night we got this first Iowa poll out, and this is a CNN poll. And it showed a bit of a different story in general than what we've tended to see from these Iowa polls. And it's because Pete Buttigieg pulled ahead into first place with 25% first choice. Now, Pete Buttigieg, he's performing quite a bit better in the early states of Iowa and New Hampshire than what his national numbers are saying. Still, when we're getting these national polls out, Buttigieg is in the mid to upper single digits, and he's going to have to greatly improve on those if he's going to have a legitimate shot at going on and winning this nomination. But it can give him a leg up if he's able to have more success than people might expect early on in the process in those first 2 states of Iowa and New Hampshire. And I think that's the strategy that the Buttigieg camp is leaning into. But we're still a number of months away from Iowa getting things going for us with that first caucus result. So even though Buttigieg has shown a bit of strength right now, he's also putting in a lot of resources to try to build this early lead, where the other candidates that are fundraising very well, like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders especially, they're probably going to pump more money into this particular race as we get closer to when we're actually going to be voting in Iowa. So that could also be a game changer potentially for the 2 progressives running in this state, and it'll just be fascinating to follow the numbers and how things potentially change in the coming months. But we also got 2 specific Iowa polls. So the other one is telling a little bit of a different story than what this one is saying. But Buttigieg, like I said, leading the way in this one at 25%. You also see Joe Biden here at 15 percentage points. And when we add up the first and second choice, Buttigieg is there at 39 and Joe Biden was at 28. And then scrolling down, taking a look at Bernie Sanders is at 15%, 13% second choice, so 28% combined for the total there between first and second choice. And then Elizabeth Warren at 16% first choice, 20% second choice, so a 36 combined total for her. So what we're getting from this CNN poll is Buttigieg with a little bit of a lead, and then the rest of the pack, Warren, Sanders, and Biden, are all pretty much tied for second, right around the 15 to 16 percentage point number. But now moving over and taking a look at this CBS News poll and YouGov, and this is also out of the state of Iowa, and it's telling us a different story, but a very competitive race at the top. Bernie Sanders as well as Joe Biden leading the way at 22 percentage points for each of them. Buttigieg right there at 21%, and then also Elizabeth Warren at 18%. And we've also seen a lot of Iowa polls over the past month where Elizabeth Warren has been in first place. So it's just a fascinating dynamic that we're getting right now in what's going to be the first caucus result, where it's really anyone's game among the top 4 candidates who could close this thing strong and have success in Iowa. It's going to be really interesting to keep an eye on that and see how that one plays out. All right, so we have 3 other early state polls coming from CBS News and YouGov. So moving over to New Hampshire, and Elizabeth Warren doing really well in this one, up there at 31% of support, followed by Joe Biden at 22%, Sanders at 20%, and then Pete Buttigieg at 16%, and then everyone else is in the lower single digits. Now, a state like New Hampshire, it borders both Massachusetts and Vermont, so that potentially helps Elizabeth Warren as well as Bernie Sanders. Now, I personally would be pretty surprised if Sanders didn't get first or second in New Hampshire, given how well he did in the state back in 2016, and the fact that it's neighboring to Vermont. He's very well known there, and there's a lot of progressive left voters in the Democratic primary in New Hampshire. So at least for me personally, if Sanders didn't do quite well in that state, I'd be surprised, but it would also mean that he would have a very tough time going on and winning the nomination if he isn't able to do exceedingly well in a state like that up in the Northeast. So then moving to the next state in the process, we have Nevada. And actually, Joe Biden's been doing a little bit better in the Nevada polls that we've been seeing in recent weeks. In this one, he leads the pack at 33% of support, followed by Bernie Sanders at 23%, Elizabeth Warren at 21%. And then after we get out of these first 2 states, this is where we see the backslide from Pete Buttigieg, where he's not quite as competitive. So in the upper single digits in this one in Nevada at 9 percentage points. And Kamala Harris, a really disappointing number for her. The neighboring state is California, where she's the senator from, but she's only pulling in 4 percentage points, and then everyone else is in the lower single digits. And then the last early state poll that we have here is out of South Carolina. And this is where Joe Biden is expected to do really well in the southeastern states, where there's a lot more conservative white Democrats, but he also does very well among African-American Democrats, which are also an important voting bloc in the southeastern states. So expect Joe Biden to have his most strength in this region of the country, kind of like what we saw from Hillary Clinton back in 2016, where she really cleaned Bernie Sanders' clocks in a lot of these southeastern state results. So Joe Biden leading the pack at 45%, followed by Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders at 17 and 15 percentage points, respectively. And then another one of these states where Buttigieg finds himself in the upper single digits at 8%, and then everyone else is in the mid to lower single digits. So a very wide range of results here, and we have a lot of different demographics when we take a look at these early states, where Iowa and New Hampshire are a lot more white voters, and this is where Buttigieg does a bit better. And then Nevada, you have a more Hispanic voter, also white voters as well. We see Bernie Sanders do really well in a lot of these polls where Hispanics play more of a block within that Democratic primary, and he was in second place in that particular poll. Also, Joe Biden doing pretty well in that one. And then we move over to South Carolina, where you have more conservative Democrats, as well as the African-American vote, which is very important. We see Joe Biden doing extremely well in this one, leading the pack at 45 percentage points. Now, last night was the first poll that we got out of these 5, and that one was from CNN. And everyone was pretty much shocked in the online world to see Buttigieg leading the pack at 25%. Now, when we actually get to the Iowa caucuses, if Buttigieg is going to go on and win this one and win it by around 10 percentage points, I'd probably be pretty surprised by that, especially with these other campaigns likely to be spending a lot more money as we get closer. There's still a number of months to go, and these voters, they're paying attention, but as we get closer, they'll start paying more and more attention. And we'll see if Buttigieg is able to have strength in his support and in his numbers, or if he's going to recede back like we've seen some of these other candidates do along the way throughout this process. Going to be really fascinating and interesting to see specifically how Iowa plays out, considering that all of the 4 upper-tier candidates look like they have a decent shot at going on and winning this one, that being Buttigieg, Warren, Sanders, as well as Biden. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, and I hope to see you guys back here for my next video.